First, TTPs, www.reddit.com, RHFFI comments, NFAQOOT, of cruel, space, parton. After the serious, semi-coded conversation, it stalled. Sorry. No, Israel. Antlers, assumptions, and artillery. You have got to be kidding me. Herbert says over the communicator. I kid you not. I've already scheduled an appointment with a doctor to see how much Axiom is being produced by your unborn nieces and potential nephews. Harold says, what does it say about me that my mind has gone to the consideration that we might see some dedicated pregnant warrior sect, some 100 or so generations down the line? Herbert asks, that you're overtired and stressed out. Mandatory in intelligence. There's so much nonsense going around. I'm very aware. And unless it's picked up even harder in the last few months, then I literally know as well as you do as I have those memories of yours. You and Dow. I know. That reminds me, has anything been found of the unfortunate alloy that was being mistakenly used for paneling since I was born? If so, then it must have slipped by me in all the excitement. We were able to confirm the novel production methodology we stumbled on causes no outright harm, and doesn't make things worse for people unless they're in extremely close proximity, tied to it, or physical contact. Some debate has been had on installing receivers in some prisons legally, and paying the facility to rent the small amount of space to both support the incarceration system and get more of this stuff in as harmless a manner as possible so we can study. But with what we have now, we have discovered 4 methods of destruction, and found that it's about 75% efficient when it takes command of an Axiom Effect. The remaining 25% actually goes into a self-healing method. No. The stuff would be almost perfect for armor if getting close to it didn't give you a heart attack with the growing horror, Harold says in a slightly awed tone. Yes. When it comes to more exciting and potentially dangerous discoveries, you're leading the way when it comes to that poor so-near woman on Scatha. Herbert says, so the transmitters were in fact not causing a degradation in the areas they were located in? Only our big blue friend was adversely affected by the transmitters and she came into direct contact with it. So, the bottom 10 are slums, yes. Herbert confirms. Far too many bottom 10s didn't have transmitters for it to be anything but. The variances between the transmitter holding 10s and those without form, nothing in the way of a recognizable pattern. While sober, a couple men got drunk and showed up with an entire corkboard mummified in red yarn that they swore would explain it, but weren't able to explain any of it afterwards, drunk or sober. Not fun. Is it wrong that I feel disappointed? We so die. Was it? Not really. We have a lot of outreach in those areas, so we're working on it. But it's just an unfortunate truth of a society. If there are haves, there has to be have-nots. There are always cracks, and if there's a crack, a way will be found to fall through them. I was referring to the corkboard. Oh, I suppose. Someone letting go of things and figuring it out with the sweet siren of cirrhosis building in the liver is a funny mental image, at least. Herbert says, and Harold lets out a considerate thought. What? My unborn child was already used to Yuma in battle. It helps calm her mind in her war form, and as dangerous as a saber-toothed tiger is, one that is still using human-level intelligence is downright terrifying. I'm just worried what's going to... No, done. Worrying in a circle isn't going to help. Some Takra will seek it out, but as a species they're not bad. The main issue is understanding the issue properly first, then dealing with it. Why? There we go, Herbert says. Just keep sending data. Roger that, big brother, sir. Well, clearly you're not anywhere near the drill instructors because no one's audibly blown their stack. Herbert mutters. You love it. I kinda do, yeah. Biggest regret of being undaunted was that Earth was closed off. You sped up me getting some full-on family back by a lot. It just talks. Yeah, it takes a while until the kids are more than adorable little nuggets that need and need and need. Harold says, yeah. So having a crazy brother sending in the nuttiest stories possible has been great. Not to mention the kiddies will love having an uncle. Herbert says, anyways, I'll be looking forward to additional information updates. I have someone outside my door looking like he was downwind of a wood chipper. So today is off to a roaring start. Oh, no. Did that wood chipper potentially have a person in it? Looks like no, but they're a plant-based species, so he could be a chlorophyllic nightmare, Herbert says. Anyways, keep me up to date and have a good day. The call ends just in time as Harold pockets the device, braces himself, and then catches the gigantic flaming metal saber-toothed tiger that is a Takra warform. She thrashes and roars as Jiria slowly puts her weapons away. Javra's wings despicify, and everyone calms down as Harold holds the thrashing. Araminta descended tiger by the scruff, then tosses the creature weighing at least 10 times what he does, Beatty. Into the arena. The giant monster lands lightly on its feet and looks back with a snarl, the smoke pouring from its maw emphasizing the chrome teeth. Don't look at me. Look at... Harold starts to say before another warform that resembles a tatzelworm of legend slams into it and starts constricting around the flaming, spiky monstrosity as both yowl and scream. Yep, that's a tough one. Yuma notes as she has been paying particular attention to the tatzelworm. The announcer had nicknamed it Brute Snake. Is it also of Lidris descent? Lidris and Nagasha, it looks like. Lengthened the tail and made it a more constrictor bit. Uma answers as she watches the last two contestants of this round refuse point blank. To surrender even as chunks of armor are ripped off one and the other gets some vicious gashes. The recall should kick off soon. I'm wondering why it hasn't. Both of them took some pretty bad shots in that last mix-up. The collars must not be detecting enough pain through their systems, or the wrong kind of pain. They work by reading neural synapses that are universal in war form. If we're knocked out, or the pattern for a lethal blow is detected, we're out. Never died any. And don't be tame. And what if they're damaged? Winifred asks. They can't be. Not by a war form. The collars shift into a slight phasing state while activated to prevent them from being damaged, or used to pull around another war form. It's obvious and easy for a person to deactivate, but it's the kind of subtlety that a war form just can't pull off. Even when I was in control of myself last round, I just didn't have the headspace for that kind of fine work. Uma answers. What about adrenaline? It shuts off pain reactions and... Harold starts to state before the warforms slam into each other and the tatzelworm uses its much more stable grounding with its enormous tail to take control and slam the other into the arena floor. The other vanishes and the tatzelworm roars in triumph. Well, never mind then. They must have been on their last legs. Yuma notes with a grin as she thinks. Wait, I was thinking about things. My own child, humans are enduring, clever and tough. With tool use built in for so long it's kinda silly. But adrenaline too. The combat drug of Earth? Neri. Considered high grade by the wider galaxy. Some places might consider it an illegal advantage. It's purely natural biology, Harold argues. And the line between natural and unnatural has been skipped over and crossed so many times that a lot of places don't care anymore. Drugs in the system? Disqualified, even if they are a purely natural hormone or glandular reaction or whatever the official medical name is. None. Is it wrong that I really want to know how far some people went with that? Harold asks. I remember watching a documentary on it when I was a little girl. The way some of those people looked and acted made me believe in actions movies a whole lot more for a while. None. To be fair, with Axiom action movies are pretty accurate. Harold states and Yuma turns to him alongside Jiria and Winifred. Velocity puts a hand on his shoulder and Agatha the other. Oh, honey, we need to show you a proper action movie. Humans do okay, but you clearly don't know how far things can go with some movie magic. Agatha says, "Do you girls really want to give me ideas?" Harold asks, and there is a pause. "Now I'm curious," Jiria states as she considers. "You know, the Primal Slayer series always made Grandmother laugh. Are we talking grandmother as in the first Nagasha Primal, or grandmother as Thessalia the Primal that you have as a grandmother with a series of greats in front of it?" "My ancestress," Jiria notes with a smile. Her main complaint is that while the fight scenes are entertaining, there's not enough firepower in most of them for even a peaceful primal, and that the ones in the movie need to be suicidal and letting it happen for what they're doing to actually work. Really? Honestly, you did better than the movies on your first fight. Danger close artillery? Massive suicide drones and backup weapons for the backup weapons? You might have scratched a peaceful one. Jiria teases. She really was going easy on me. You were doing well. Mewa, Tizatowaji, Ilastowa, Idantabense, Lesi, Genuda Grace, Dadai, Dagtatoras. I really do need to take it easier, but I do also want to get strong enough to at least be taken seriously in a spar. Nahan. Spar. Not fight. Nee. I'm not sure if there's any living primal who'll have a reason to fight or want to fight outside a spar. Even the least benevolent ones are a net good to the galaxy at large and upstanding people. Nwan. Nidono. Yeah. They're on the kind of scale where taking care of the galaxy is at the same level as cleaning your own apartment, Jiria remarks. Which means that if one of them gets the impulse to torch the galaxy, which hasn't ever happened, and the closest thing to it was Grandmother, that is the original primal, trying to force another primal to emerge without understanding he process. Which ironically caused a primal to emerge and go on. Harold begins to say before the third fight starts to kick off as 5 more Takra enter the arena to the applause of the crowd. Then they all transform and there are enormous roars before a slight gasp. One of the collars was insecurely fastened and falls off the neck of the leftmost warform. "Shit," Harold says as the tiger with the most overly muscled forelimbs and massive curled scythes for claws starts pacing around and roars as it rears back with its claws out. "Hair colors off. One of our contest collars has malfunctioned." The announcer calls out, "Excuse me," Harold says, reaching for Yuma and unlatching her collar. She makes no move to stop him, but he can see the approval in her eye. He then pulls at the axiom, vanishes and reappears directly in front of the collarless warform that notices him instantly and goes on the attack. But he's close enough for his nose to brush against the belly fur, and he leaps up even as her scything claws come down and scrambles up to her neck, where he pulls at enough axiom for time to start going still. He wraps the collar around her neck, clips it into pulse, and activates it before shifting downwards, grabbing the malfunctioning collar and teleporting out. Done! Well done that. If the hero of the minute could please come up to the announcer's booth, I'd be most appreciative. Someone will be here to speak to you shortly. Now, back to it. Our scythe-handed horror has a collar properly applied, and we can stop worrying about sudden unexpected death in the last place we need it. Nezerma. Whoa, that was fun. Harold states, and Yuma takes the collar from him to examine it. Can you see what went wrong? No, but there are small markings on it. Which is... not good. The collar was singled out for some reason. Or maybe just damaged. But these markings are very evenly spaced out. Maybe it got caught in something and no one saw the harm? Who knows? Well, let's figure it out. We've got an appointment at the announcer's booth now. Harold says. I'll go with. I need a replacement collar now anyways. Yuma says, well, keep an eye out here. Make sure nothing silly happens. Jiria says, hopefully not. We're here for fun, not work. Yavra adds in, be safe. Winifred says, and Harold nods. Don't worry, this should be completely fine. Harold assures her. With your luck, this means we're about to be caught in a civil war that ends with us handing the arcology over to a go-biker gang or something. Demaya says, is that a bad thing? Agatha asks. I mean, yes, supposedly. I don't know, I grew up in a war band, fletching arrows and forging armor. Managazerans. Parster, DDPEs. www.reddit.com. RHFI. Comments NFSAQ. Out of cruel space, partona. O of cruel space, partona. www.reddit.com. RHFI.